Good morning. Great to be with all of you. My name is Allison Griffin, and I'm going to be moderating our conversation today about a Southern Colorado tech renaissance. I am thrilled to be with all of you. I will start off by inviting you to introduce yourself in the chat. Please just post your name, the organization that you're connected with. We will do our best to monitor the chat over the course of the next hour. Of course, if questions or comments come up, we will integrate those into our discussion. And that's what we're going to do today. We're actually going to have a conversation, not a scripted presentation, but a conversation among colleagues across Southern Colorado who are actually coming together across industries and sectors and spaces to align on behalf of learners in Colorado. And I'm really excited to be a part of this conversation. Some of you know me through my work with Forbes. I'm a contributor to Forbes magazine. I also write a newsletter each week called Boundless Potential, which focuses on issues at the intersection of education and employment in the state. I've been doing that for the last 5 years and have also served as a trustee at Colorado Mesa University out in Grand Junction. So have taken a deep interest in the opportunities for collaboration and connection and partnership in the state of Colorado. And so I think today's conversation is actually going to be an exemplar for what we have the potential to do in the state, and also some new ideas and collaborations that may emerge for those of you who are joining us as participants to perhaps replicate or take part in. So with that, I'm just going to lay out the couple of objectives for our conversation today. We're going to learn about how Southern Colorado is positioning itself as truly the go-to tech place in rural Colorado. We're going to hear a bit from experts around the area, around the region, and across the state to share a little bit more about what they're working on and how their work is influencing what's emerging in Southern Colorado. And then we're also going to lean in a little bit on your thinking as participants, how you might be able to engage and participate in some of these exciting projects that are emerging in the state. I would ask all of you who have joined if you could mute your line, and then we will, as we bring folks onto the screen, we'll unmute you for the conversation. So just a quick agenda here on the screen. Of course, just our welcome again to all of you who have joined and made time for us this morning. We'll talk a little bit about this opportunity in Southern Colorado. I'm going to, in just a moment, turn it over to my colleague, Rob. We'll talk a little bit about the emergent campus and what they're doing. We'll hear from some business leaders on how to build more resilient pathways for learner earners in rural communities, highlight a few education sector partnerships, and then we're going to issue a call to action for all of you. So with that, I would like to turn it over to my colleague, Rob Brown, who is the Executive Director of the Fremont Economic Development Corporation. And Rob's going to talk a little bit about the opportunity in front of us. Rob, over to you.
Good morning.
Good morning. Great to be with you.
Yeah, great to be with you as well. This is an interesting opportunity for all of us, I think, to discuss what we've been working on for a few years now, actually about 6 years. So in terms of what the general basis of this discussion was, it was about the relevance of technology in rural Colorado. So a number of years ago, we started a process where we wanted to become involved in technology-based businesses, startups, generating jobs in our community and so forth. And we actually started to compete for jobs in that environment. And we were told very specifically that we weren't relevant in tech-based jobs. And when that kind of realization hit us, we really had to evaluate where we were, what our direction was. And when we started to dig in deeper, we discovered that the relevance was because we just hadn't done a good job of creating an environment, an ecosystem of technology-based jobs in the area. And because of that, we kind of rallied our troops here, and we started to see what is it exactly that we could do to make us more tech relevant. We tried explaining it. We graphed it out on paper. We did these beautiful Venn diagrams. We showed everybody that would listen about what our concept was, and people just simply could not get it. They just couldn't grasp what was in our mind. So I remember an evening specifically where I came home and I slammed the door behind me, and my wife said, what is wrong? And I said, I'm trying to, talk about this technology-based business and the opportunity for jobs and remote workers and, start all of these things. And I said, nobody is getting it. And she says, well, I want to talk to you about this, but she's an SAP developer. So she said, I've got to go run a little routine here, and then we'll talk about it after dinner. And I said, yeah, and I'm a big data guy. And I said, I've got a whole bunch of support calls I need to answer. So I'll go do that. And then we'll talk after dinner. And the little light bulb went on above my head that said, we're both remote workers. We're both living in Fremont County in a rural community. We're both doing exactly what we were trying to explain to people. So I said, this is just simply not going, we're not going to give up on this basis. And so we started making an overt gesture to become relevant in the tech space. And I reached out to Brad Rowland. I put my hand on his shoulder and I said, Brad, we need to put our heads together and figure out how we're going to accomplish this task. And that was the genesis behind Tech Start. And so Tech Start is a micro ecosystem based on businesses, various vertical markets, individual support services, all things related to driving forward a concept. And so we started to build a team. We reached out into the community. We started to create these assets that didn't exist previously, and we rolled them together into a format that we feel was the catalyst to generate this opportunity. And from there, our Tech Start, we actually had brick and mortar for a period of time pre-pandemic, and then Brad and Chris Cohen and some other heroic individuals in our area said that we can take this another step, and they actually acquired a property in Florence, Colorado, that has been renamed the Emergent Campus, which has become the epicenter in our small community for all things related to technology and education and the connection of people to a common goal, which is to be tech relevant in our region. And we're now ascending to a much higher level, a much larger goal that we think that our concept here is something we can replicate across all of rural Colorado and make many areas relevant. But there's a number of circumstances that you have to put in place to create that. But that's kind of the concept behind what we're doing here. And it's really an assemblage of people, of volunteers, of people that are focused on a common goal.
I love that. I love the both the fact that you have built something from a need, but you have also conceptualized this community of colleagues and practitioners based in the very real example of you and your wife. And so this idea
Absolutely.
that new partnerships, new work doesn't have to be anything more than what emerges at the local level and among people and surfacing those needs and making something happen. Thank you for your leadership. Thank you for describing certainly the work of the Economic Development Corporation and your place in this renaissance, this new idea and new community that's emerging in Southern Colorado. Really appreciate your time this morning, Rob. And we may come back to you as questions emerge in the chat. I imagine we'll have some colleagues who want to learn a little bit more.
No,
But
by
you
all
teed
means,
us up.
thank you for the opportunity.
You bet. Well, you teed us up so nicely, actually, for a discussion about the Emergent Campus. With that, I'm actually going to turn now to Landon Mascarenas and Christine Loudon to talk a little bit about the Emergent Campus, give us an overview of that entity. How has the Emergent Campus really begun to launch this tech renaissance in Southern Colorado. Landon, Christine, I'm going to turn it to you.
Thanks, Allison. First off, it's really great to be here. Thank you for all that you do for Colorado to lift up incredible stories of people doing important work for economic and social mobility all over Colorado. It's great to be here and see everybody. Really excited for this conversation. There's a lot of people who on this call who are really good friends who have come together to build something that we couldn't build on our own. And I'll speak very briefly to how some of these pieces are coming together. And then I'll turn it over to Christine to talk about some of the really exciting ways that Emergent Campus is developing in Trinidad. And that's a really special thing I think we'd love to kind of start with, which is kind of what we might actually build together. And I first got to meet Rob and Brad and a lot of the folks on this call when we were doing some work to kind of build economic mobility in rural communities across the state. And I got to see what they were building on the ground in Fremont County. And it was astounding. And it inspired communities all over Colorado, from the northeast of Holyoke all the way down to Cortez and Durango. And as we think about the future and rapidly growing technologies like AI and new types of computing programs and new ways of learning and working, honestly, Allison, this is a huge deal. You know this. The way that we work as a society is fundamentally transforming. Rural Colorado is actually primed to be a leader in the way that we transform that conversation about what rural communities can achieve. For so long in our communities, we've thought about how to bring jobs to them, but actually people can now bring their jobs to rural Colorado. And what an incredible transformative power of agency and people living the quality of life that they want around people and places that they deeply care about, where they can live the life that they choose. And I'm really grateful to work with the Fremont Economic Development Corporation and be a part of the Emergent Campus project and learn about TechStart. But we want to also just name that, while Fremont Economic Development Corporation has been a driver of this work, we are now seeing an emergent work across an entire Southern Colorado region. When you look at that area down in that kind of south central area, Fremont, Custer, Huerfano, Los Animas County, Pueblo, you're going to hear people on this call from that entire area working on a shared opportunity to build this tech infrastructure. And everyone you're going to hear from on the call has been an incredible leader in this project in their own way and space. And I just think that I just want to say thank you to all of them for the work that they're doing to make this possible. Because again, every single part of this matters. Business, higher ed, civic organizations, tech companies, K-12 organizations. And Fremont Economic Development Corporation has done a lot of work to incentivize and coordinate and build that ecosystem in Fremont for folks to feel like they can live their tech company dreams and startup dreams in these spaces, which is just, I think, the neatest thing to think about. And when you get to go to some of the spaces and events that they put together, you're watching incredible tech companies make pitch competitions. You're learning about companies who are working all over the country, building drone technology for farmers to actually change the way they manage their crops. It's an incredible thing to see in a rural community, and it's really about leveraging the assets. For so long, Allison, we've had a very deficit-based narrative about our rural communities, and what this project is really about is turning that on its head and saying to a lot of the people who are on this call who have been a part of the project, or people who are interested, because we've done outreach to a lot of organizations and businesses in Colorado, that we want you to see Southern Colorado as a place where you can bring your business, where you can encourage your workers to live, and we can all work together to build up the vibrancy of our rural communities. Rhonda Epper, who's on this call, Dr. Epper, talks a lot about building that shared prosperity. I think it's so exciting to think about what it would mean to live into Rhonda's vision for that shared prosperity and for our rural communities to have that. So the Emergent Campus was a project to bring and create a space for folks to come together to actually house their tech companies in a rural community. It's been recognized in some really national ways. I'll let Brad and Chris talk about that a little bit more when they talk about why they got started on it, why they chose their businesses to be there. But it's a really incredible project, and this really encouraged some really interesting visionary leaders. Again, back to Dr. Epper and folks like Christine to apply for resources to actually replicate this and adapt this to the community of Trinidad, a place that I think many of us love. That's really an incredible community on the border with New Mexico, and create an opportunity for that entire Southern Colorado region to thrive in a new way. And so with that, I'll just turn it over to Christine to talk a little bit more about Emergent Campus, what she's doing in Trinidad, and I can move to the next slide whenever you're ready, Christine.
Okay, I'm ready. Thank you, Landon. Oh, good morning. And I'm so excited to be part of this initiative here in Trinidad and Los Animas County. The Emergent Campus in Florence that is our blueprint, is such an inspiration. And Rob, what you have done in Fremont County is also very inspiring for me and what we're trying to do here. Emergent Campus in Trinidad is really focused on three things. We are primarily working on upskilling, working with students, letting them know about new career pathways in technology, letting them know about the amazing programs and classes that are offered at Trinidad State College. We do have a really strong partnership there. They've been an incredible support to Emergent Campus and offer so many resources to our community. And part of what Emergent Campus is doing is just trying to magnify all the goodness that is happening here and the opportunities that are here that oftentimes people don't even realize. And then also working within our adult community in terms of letting them know what kind of job opportunities are here and how they can upskill quite quickly to really change their career trajectory. So that is so exciting and inspiring for what we're doing at Emergent Campus. And then the second thing that we're focused on is business development. And we do that in a couple ways. One, we're serving as an incubator for really new businesses and people who just want to get started. They have a great idea, and giving them a safe place where it's economical to try and build the foundation for their business. We also offer co-working space where we are finding people who are remote workers here in our community, bringing them together. And once people are together and you start to network, that's when create new ideas and new inspirations start to happen. And we are seeing that. And that's so exciting. It's fun. It's fun when you can see everyone come together and really build something new and realize that there is a community here. Second of all, we magnify and try to support the businesses that are already in our community, whether they're tech-based or not. And where they need tech support, that's where we are reaching out and providing the support and expertise that we have through Emergent Campus Florence and through our networks all over the state. So, business and that economic development, not just of Trinidad, but even of the entire region, is really our secondary focus. And then finally, we kind of are trying to hold the vision of what technology in rural Colorado, in Trinidad, in Los Animas County, and where Funnell County can bring to this region and try to attract more abundance and more resources so that we can all develop and rise together. And it's really exciting work. Such a privilege to be part of this and the great people who are surrounding it.
That's great. Christine, thank you so much for the overview of Emergent Campus. And Landon, thank you for giving us a glimpse into the vision of this work in Southern Colorado. What a powerful visual that has just been put on the screen, which I think captures all of the partners who are involved in this work. Landon, do you want to say anything more about those that you've highlighted on the screen?
Just that this is some of the incredible partners who are both on this call and not on this call who have stepped forward to help make this tech renaissance in Southern Colorado possible. And that we have a bunch of other partners who aren't even listed on this list. This is just actually a beginning snapshot of it. But I also want to draw people's attention because I know we're all visual learners. To on the left, the Florence High School space where Emergent Campus is in Fremont County, and then on the right, the old Park Street building, newly christened Emergent Campus space in Trinidad, right between Trinidad School District and Trinidad State College, with a beautiful view of Fisher's Peak there. These are real spaces where people are building community to incubate and facilitate this renaissance from happening. So far from being an abstract, idea about what's happening, this is why the renaissance is actually flourishing.
I love that. And I love Rob's comment in the chat about the operative word is activate. Really identifying and ultimately activating people in the community toward rural prosperity. So thank you, Rob, for that comment. And now I think it's important to hear from business leaders and those who have really brought this vision to life. Building the resilient pathways in the rural community. We're going to hear directly from Chris Cohen and Brad Rowland. I'll bring you both on the screen and would love for you to just start off by telling us a bit about yourself and then how FEDC and or Emergent Campus has really had an impact on you and your work. And Chris, why don't we start with you?
Oh, thank you. I will tell you off the front end, both Brad and I grow beards, if that's not apparent. Actually, and I apologize for being late. I was on a call with a customer about some of the new work that we're deploying at the Emergent Trinidad campus. And
so timely.
Yeah, very timely. And we're just impact-wise, I don't think the impact, like for me, it's wonderful and it's a blessing, but the impact for the community and our workforce and our staff that we've had just the honor of serving and working to develop as they enter into careers in something they didn't think was possible in their community. To me, that's life-changing. It's changed my life. It's changed their life. And impact-wise, that's a cascading effect. It's a generational thing. So there's opportunity where there was not because of the blessing of Emergent Campus and what FEDC has done to support that. And all the way with our friends at OEdit, Colorado Succeeds. It's just been like a team effort. And they say it takes a village to raise a child. Well, in these rural communities, it takes a village to raise a business. And just being a servant in that and working to support those communities in seeing that opportunity within themselves and believe in themselves to succeed helps that business flourish, but more importantly, helps those people flourish. And so it's been fantastic.
Absolutely, just truly human-centered work, and am grateful for your leadership and vision in Southern Colorado. Brad, would love to hear a little bit more about you and your background and how FEDC and Emergent Campus have had an impact on you. Oops, we can't hear
muted,
you.
Brad.
Oh. Give you a quick second.
Still can't hear you, Brad.
There you go.
Where's a tech guy when you need one, huh? I've been in tech probably 35 years now. So my entire adult career, my wife and I relocated here from Silicon Valley in 2013. And I just want to correct Rob, who said 6 years. It's been almost 10 years, Rob. So time flies when we're having fun. But as soon as we got here, I think Rob recruited us into FEDC, and I had just never had time in my, living in a metro area when you spend like 2 hours a day commuting, I didn't have time to know what an EDC is or a chamber. And as I kind of resettled here, I wasn't expecting to stay in tech because I had always had to be in a metro area, and this was before COVID and the remote work changes that we've seen now, but got recruited by some friends who were doing another tech startup based out of Atlanta. They didn't care if I worked remote. So that, along with, I think, Rob's personal discovery about he and his wife were both remote tech people. I was a remote tech person, and it seemed like we just kept meeting them, but everybody in Fremont thought they were the only remote tech person, in rural, because there were no meetups or co-working space. And it seemed like, why isn't this already a thing? So I think just starting to organize it and seeing how far we could take it. And we organized around some key areas, location neutral workforce. If you get 100 location neutral people to move into a community of 7,000 like Trinidad, instead of one large traditional rural business that might go, up and down, or takes 5 years to get it up and running and then it closes, the resiliency that adds to a local economy, it just cannot be, overstated, right? And you don't need to build warehouses and factories and all that for those people. They bring their paycheck and they can kind of self-identify which community in Colorado they'd like to move to. There's so much variety and choice, and go be a part and plug in to PTA and chambers and EDCs and trail systems and organic food co-ops, right? Because the communities have so much to offer. They're just missing, a stable economy. So just a note on Emergent Campus. So we bought it right before the pandemic started, which was obviously super bad timing because it's 75,000 square foot historic school building in the middle of rural Colorado. But coming out of the pandemic, we had something like 18 businesses here with maybe 120 employees across traditional tech to we've got ABA therapists who work with kids with learning disabilities, and that's just in this building. So I think we roughly talk about 250 jobs created or influenced or location neutral workers moving here at salaries from 40K to mid 200s or 300s. So that's like a annual salary impact to the community of $20 million a year, and that's Florence has 3,000 people, Canyon City has 16,000 people. So it feels like we've proven it, and it's time to expand it. And we love the team that is forming in Trinidad and the amazing things that they've already done just in the short couple of months. And just I'll close on this, but the vision, each of the communities can have their own business ecosystem that may be unique to that community. But when we look at the region across 12 counties with 210,000 employees, that could become a consistent workforce training region to support Colorado Springs and the I-25 corridor as Colorado really continues to flourish and thrive with its tech businesses and needs level 1 and level 2 employees who can't all afford to be in a metro area, right?
Absolutely.
It just seems like a win-win, a very strategic win-win for both sides, both sides of the aisle. And I think that's the excitement that brings us here today, that the proof points now that we've seen that we can grow and expand on.
I love that. Thank you so much for sharing a little bit more about your story and philosophy and what brought you to this work. I'm so inspired, and I know, Chris, you have an equally inspiring story. I'd love to come back to you and talk with you a little bit more about your business. Why can you do your work in a rural community? Why remote? I know you have a pretty powerful story to tell. Would you share it with our audience? Oh, and can you jump off mute?
Sure, absolutely. So regionally, my family homesteaded in Fremont County, so our roots are deep. They came here to literally homestead, and were brought up in the coal mines and other mines in the region. They were attracted from Eastern Europe and recruited to come here, and their economic pathway was in mining. And so I grew up and graduated from Canyon City High School. I'm a recovering accountant. I went around the country, toured as corporately, and came back home. I'd owned a few businesses and some fairly successful. And I saw there was a lot of economic capacity in the system. So I was motivated because I was a child of a rural community, which the mantra is graduate and go somewhere else because we have nothing for you. And that's not true. The economic capacity in the system, at least from a services environment, is we have a graduating raw material, which is our students. If we tune them and turn them into a high value product or service platform, we can bring those to the national and international marketplace. And the benefits of that are profound. The cost benefits are very competitive for a services type organization that provides services from a rural market where your cost of operations are measurably different than they are in many of our urban marketplaces. We benefit from large or much longer employee retention and culture. It builds a community in which the staff members themselves help each other. They form a work family, which extends out into their community family. And so what we see in that is exceptionally high performance. So our customers that we serve, which are our customers are national defense, federal agency, large commercial. We do ITSM, information technology, service management, cyber services, and are growing well in accounting, finance, and bookkeeping managed services. They love it because our staff enjoy their work. They enjoy what they do. And you can count on them. They're literally, our retention is about 500% from my other companies in urban marketplaces. And that is a strong platform to build from. It also benefits the nation and the state. So many of our rural communities are a tax liability. And what I mean by that is they receive more assistance than they provide in tax revenue. Doesn't take a lot of turning of the dial to make them an asset. From an operational benefit to our customers, we're on different power grids, we're on different water grids, we're on different infrastructure grids. So from a continuity of operations and a risk mitigation perspective, we offer something that's valuable to them in the time of crisis, or just with our current power grid challenges that are being experienced around the country. It just makes sense. And so that's the accountant brain coming forward. I apologize for that geek talk, but it makes business sense, not just it feels really good, because it really feels good. And so we see from our customers, we've had 2 requests today for additional growth in our pipeline and capacity because of the quality of services and the economic return that they see from us providing services to that national customer.
Amazing. Then my natural next question is, what advice would each of you give to other employers who are considering hiring in the region or bringing their business to the region? Chris,
Brad?
happy to start with you, or Brad?
Oh,
Yeah.
sure. Yeah, I'll start. Yeah, absolutely. Be open, authentic, and forthright with that community. Trust in a small community is probably the most valuable resource that you will have if you come to a community. Many of the small communities have heard and experienced promises and then had things taken from them. And so there's skepticism. There's also some reasons in many of these communities why they have not succeeded. They've had false starts, they've had some failures. So understanding that and helping them see past those in partnership, not for your benefit. If you serve yourself first, the community can smell that right away. So you have to partner and serve the community. And if you're serving the community well, openly, and honestly, not to just make a few more points of margin or not to just make a little bit more profit, but to truly invest in these communities for the long term. I would also say on that long-term side, this isn't a quarterly return on investment. This is for me, in our experience, a decade investment. So this is investing by generation in these communities for long-term business growth, partnership, and approach it with that sort of open heart. And why I would say that is, what can damage a rural community is to create a bunch of jobs and then lose a bunch of jobs. And what I mean by that is that very short-term focus, let me build a company and then sell it in a 24-month period, and then it gets relocated overseas, can be damaging. And I don't say that as advice. I just say that as a word of caution to the health of that community. If you come, please bring a heart for that community, not just your own balance sheet. I think that's probably the most valuable things I can offer.
That's great advice. Trust, truth, and an open heart. What a great summary. Brad, what about you?
Yeah, and I love Chris, spoken like a true community advocate. So that's why it's so cool to partner with people like Chris who have gone and built their careers in metro areas and are bringing that success back here and just really have a heart to see it benefit the community. One of the things so we've got a huge range of talent here that are like very senior leaders from top 10 tech companies who just relocated here, all the way down to people who are getting their first level 1 jobs. We have an example we were talking about yesterday, a young lady who's gotten her all the way through her master's in cybersecurity, working like odd jobs in town, so does not have cybersecurity on her resume yet. So those resumes will not get screened through an ordinary process, right? They'll get screened out, and we have to be open to have conversations with the companies, but we can show them examples. We're actually building a library of interview stories called Profiles of People, just talking about the amazing, once they get in place, they get promoted. And one of the company, actually the office that I'm sitting in right now to do this call, has had less than a 5% turnover in 5 years. And it's a 1,700 person global company. And I can tell you for sure that the executive leadership probably knows by name 7 or 8 people in this small office because of the exemplary level of work that they do. So it may look like it's going to take a little longer than just sending out resumes in an established metro area, but the long-term strategic benefit to the company, I think, is really there. And again, we know that there's a need. When you see the 15,000 open jobs on CyberSeek, or when I talked to a company last week and they're talking about going through tens of thousands of resumes when they've got a few jobs open and really trying to manage that turnover, right? It's not necessarily about cheaper labor. It costs more than you'd probably think for people to live in rural Colorado, but the benefits of the higher quality of labor, the loyalty, the job satisfaction, the lower turnover, and it's an hour to 2 hours south of the I-25 corridor. You don't have to fly offshore to go manage a team. So I think we may even have somebody on the call who's going to talk about, or who has looked at the longer term differences between offshoring and onshoring. There may seem like there's a near term benefit to offshore for cheaper labor, but long term, a lot of those decisions haven't made sense for companies and they've rolled back. So we just really feel like there's if companies will take a look at this and look at some of the examples of businesses who've already been doing it and succeeding and just listen to those stories, we're looking for people to partner with who just share that same vision.
I love that. And you have teed us up so nicely. You are right. We do have Felix Wastra joining us. Felix has been a global business leader. He and his organization have made a commitment to doing work and supporting communities in Southern Colorado. So Felix, I'd love to turn it to you. Can you talk a little bit about how you have made that cost calculation work? Would just love an overview of how you have witnessed and seen the impact in investing in talent in Southern Colorado. Welcome. Do we have Felix? We may have lost Felix. Oh my goodness. Well, we'll pull Felix back in when we see that he arrives back on screen, but I'm going to turn it over now to my colleagues in the education sector. So we are thrilled to be joined by Rhonda Epper, who's the president of Trinidad State College, and Cheto Hazelbaker, who's the president of Pueblo Community College. Would love for both of you to say a hello to our audience, and also tell us a bit about yourself and how FEDC and the Emergent Campus has really had an impact on you and your respective campuses. Rhonda, why don't we start with you?
Okay, good morning, everyone. Can you hear me? Am I off of mute?
Yes. You're great.
Okay, thank you. I had to join by my phone because I couldn't get the Zoom link to work from my computer. So it's wonderful to be here with you all this morning. I'd like to thank FEDC and Landon for pulling this group together to have this conversation. I feel that it is just such an honor to work alongside this group of innovative leaders and doers who are really helping to revive rural Colorado and drive economic development in our communities. our part is really the educational piece, the workforce training piece, and sort of building that pipeline of talent that is going to support this economic renaissance that's happening in our communities. So just a little bit of history about Trinidad State College. We have a long history of serving Southern Colorado, both from our Trinidad campus and our Valley campus in Alamosa. So we serve this entire region from Los Animas and Huerfano County to the 6 counties that make up the San Luis Valley. We also have a significant student population from northern New Mexico. When I say we have a long history, I really mean that, because we have been around since 1925 and we'll be celebrating our 100th anniversary next year. We were the first community college in Colorado, and we sit right next to the very first school district in Colorado, TSD1, with the Trinidad School District. So we really feel this commitment and obligation to helping this community that has long sort of been ravaged by the boom and bust economies that we've experienced throughout the coal mining days, the extractive industries. And as Chris was talking about, the kind of trauma that happens to a community when an employer arrives and there are jobs and then that employer leaves. And it really causes such an economic hit to a community. And we've seen this happen over time throughout, all of our rural communities, but especially those that have relied on extractive industries. For my part, I came to Trinidad in 2019, right before the pandemic, and was here about 9 months when we had to shut down and just try to keep our doors open, delivering instruction online and trying to stay afloat and support students and support the community through yet this new kind of devastation. And so that has been kind of my experience now coming out of this and really trying to find a way to help our community recover, and not just recover, but really grow. When I look at the data for our area, we have low median income. It's about 40% lower than the state of Colorado as a whole. I look at our post-secondary attainment rate. For the state, it's hovering around 60%, and I think the state is really driving for 66% of adults who carry some type of college credential. In the 8 counties that we serve, the average rate is 35%. So we have a long way to go. But I want to emphasize that I really feel that this is, that we aren't lacking talent. We aren't lacking individuals who have the potential to support this economy. We need to find them, we need to inspire them, we need to raise the aspiration level and show them that there is a pathway, a rung on the ladder, if you will, beyond a minimum wage job. And we can, through this work that we're doing here, begin to break that cycle of intergenerational poverty and
Sure.
build a cycle of prosperity and intergenerational wealth. So I'll just conclude by saying we're wrapping up our 5-year strategic plan, and our vision, we have shifted to one of driving shared prosperity, because unlike the Metro Denver area, and I came from Community College of Denver, I don't know that the community colleges in large metropolitan areas have the ability to really impact the economy in a large way. In rural areas, we can be an economic engine. And so that is my vision, is to help bring economic prosperity to our region and bring hope to the families and the kids in this area. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your leadership and for your vision for your community and for your learners. I learned a little bit more about the institution and your area just by hearing your description this morning. Thank you so much, Rhonda. Chaitau, I'd like to turn to you. Just, of course, tell us a little bit more about yourself. And then I'd also like to just hear, why is it critical for you all to be working alongside employers in the nation and in the region on behalf of your students?
Yeah, I'll be pretty brief. I'm pretty new to this state and new to this work, but not new to rural kind of economic development. So Rhonda has been at this for quite a bit longer than I have, and done a great job, and I think did a great job of setting up our role with the Emergent Campus. I would say though that, you know, the one thing that I would add is that the conversation that is probably the most heartbreaking, and I have the most often on campus, particularly when I'm in rural communities, is how can you create a job so that my student can stay here? That's just really, really consistent. And, you know, it's been a long, long time since I was in high school, but when I was in high school in a small rural community, that was also kind of the discussion, and that has just gotten worse. So projects like the Emergent Campus allow us ways to allow students in. And then I would say that there's two other ways that we want to be involved and are really important to be involved. One is really thinking about concurrent programs. So students that are currently in high school and have an immediate on-ramp into a job because they can get some of those credits, or they get some of that training during their high school experience or shortly after high school. And if a student can see a job at the end of it, we know that they're going to be that much more successful. Students really aren't just going to college anymore. They're really going with a goal in mind, and having something like the Emergent Campus and a tech job in their area gives them a job to look forward to. And then the second thing that I would say is a growing area for all of the community colleges in the state is really on the non-credit side. Our cybersecurity programs and other programs are really important. But so, for instance, I was just talking with our corporate and community education partners about some non-credit training that we're going to be doing with one of the business partners out in Emergent Campus. It doesn't happen to be in the tech space, but is an example of where, you know, we can bring, you know, if they only have two, or if a business only needs 1 or 2 or 3 employees, sometimes on the non-credit side, we can spin up those programs pretty quickly and get folks the training that they need to move into these jobs, which is another area of growth, I think, for us, where we can add some value.
Great. Oh, wow. Thank you so much. And certainly welcome to Colorado and Colorado Higher Ed. I know that you bring a wealth of knowledge and experience from your previous roles, and we are lucky and fortunate to have you in the Southern Colorado community. I'm going to turn to our partners on the K-12 side to offer a little bit of additional perspective about pathways and alignment, particularly where there are opportunities for work-based learning. So we have Jackie Crabtree with Trinidad School District and Bill Summers with Canyon City High School. Bill and I have had the opportunity to work together on a couple of projects and task forces over the last couple of years. And so, Bill, I would love to start with you, and then I'm going to jump over to Jackie. I'm wondering if you certainly introduce yourself, but would love for you to speak a little bit about the power of internship and work-based learning experience as a way for students to experience jobs, career pathways, and potentially even rethink the high school experience.
Yeah, thank you. Great to be here and good to see you, Allison. Absolutely. 16, 17 is when I started as the principal here at Canyon City High School, and really joined a group of staff and faculty, a board of education, and a superintendent who all were moving in the same direction. And that is, we want to provide career opportunities to all students. Traditional education has been all about essentially preparing students for higher education. And that's great. But remember, only about 50% of rural college or rural high school students go on to post-secondary immediately after high school. We wanted to make sure we filled in the gap for all students. And it's not that we're anti-higher ed, because early college has taken us all into that business as well. And so we really wanted to make sure that, again, every student has an opportunity to pursue the career that they want in the local area. And that's if they wish to do that. And I think that's an important piece of this. Canyon City High School is the first P-TECH school in the nation, first rural P-TECH school in the nation. And really why that came to pass is because we had businesses present in TechStart and Emergent Campus. We could not have done that without them, because part of P-TECH is to have an internship experience that your students can go to. And without TechStart, we could not have done that. Folks like Brad and Chris were early implementers of that program. And now what you're seeing in the state through the 1215 task force, which is a how do you re-envision high school in this state, is that we're all moving in that direction. A lot of the legislative work that's going on this spring in particular, and that was passed last spring, legislation regarding secondary, is pushing this state's high schools toward incentivizing our school performance frameworks to essentially elevate internship opportunities in early college and career pathway, articulated career pathways. It's also pushing us in a financial sense towards those end goals on behalf of our students. The Slalom report is going to be released here pretty quick, and that's going to show how the state is incentivizing high schools to go in this direction too. And so Canyon City's been at it for a little bit of a time with our Emergent Campus partners, who were our very first partners. We've since branched out. We have over 200 business partners in Fremont County now on behalf of our students. And what we're starting to see, things like what Chris Cohen mentioned, is that our students are interning with companies here in Fremont County, and then really exciting, they're staying on as employees when they graduate from high school while they're attending post-secondary and building their careers and their lives right here in our backyard. And that's pretty exciting.
That's amazing. Thank you so much, Bill, for the overview and, more importantly, your leadership, both on behalf of the students, the learners you serve, but also for casting a vision in the region and for the state. Thrilled to hear from you today. I would also love to hear, Jackie, from you, just given your role as the Career Connected Learning Coordinator with Trinidad School District. Can you talk a little bit about the ways in which you all work alongside employers to ensure that your students have those experiential learning and career connected learning opportunities?
Thank you, Allison. I appreciate that.
Okay.
We've taken the time to work with Bill's team. They're our model, and they're the team that we're looking to. He has a wonderful group. Lisa Tedesco and Tara are both amazing and have given so much of their time and energy to help us get started on the right foot. We have wonderful partners that have been supporting us through CEI and through the grant process that have allowed us to take the steps we need to take this slow, walk into it the right way. So we're building something that lasts in this community. I believe one of the gentlemen said earlier, I think it was Mr. Cohen, to stay there, to have somebody that's not going to leave after a short time. And I think that comes back to connections. That's one of my core values with my students. And I think it reflects in what we're doing to build this out into the community, because as part of this, these pathways, the career connections are allowing our kids to explore in areas where they keep that connection and don't feel that they have to leave the community. As it was mentioned, it used to be more of a traditional thing that you would happen, if you wanted to go do what you wanted to do after graduation, you'd move somewhere else. Now we're building a system where the opportunities on I-25 are going to open up more than we can imagine just yet. And I'm sure we have some beautiful people on here that have great imaginations and they have great vision. I just think we're going to find this in 10, 15 years, we're going to look back on all of this and see something quite differently. But as part of this, working with all of these partners, as Landon said earlier, I believe you can't list all of the people that have helped us along this way. I'm just so thankful and grateful. We had Thanksgiving here, and it's just amazing to stop and reflect on the support we've had.
What a nice way to wrap us up, Jackie. We do have so much to be grateful and thankful for, and a lot of that is rooted in connection with other people and sharing vision and being honest and direct and building trust. And those are the themes that have come across for me today in this conversation. I'm grateful to so many of you who have shared your experience, shared your advice. And I'm also grateful to those who have listened in. I know we have a call to action and some next steps. And so Landon, I'm going to turn it back over to you to wrap us up this morning.
I just want to again thank you, Allison, for your time today. You know, to have you as a national expert guiding us through this conversation. I can't wait to hear and chat with you about kind of some of the pieces that you've heard about today. You know, it's really incredible. You know, we talk a lot about in this country, as you know, kind of what would it mean to get tech and business and higher education and K-12 and all these partners working together in concert in a community to build that shared prosperity Rhonda's talking about. And Southern Colorado now has all those pieces together. And thanks to a significant amount of leadership investment, literally the time, talent, and sweat and tears of everyone on this, a lot of people on this call and beyond, and pretty incredible investments thanks to OEDIT and the governor's office, we have a catalytic set of energy possible now to move us forward in Southern Colorado. The pieces have been assembled. And now what we need is more partners, more businesses, and we need your help. We need people on this call to think about 3 to 5 businesses in their network that they're going to reach out to and say, hey, do you have any remote workers that could move to Southern Colorado? Do you have businesses that maybe actually could be a partner in revitalizing Southern Colorado? Because the pieces are there. The community colleges can do the upskilling. Kids can have new types of opportunities while they're in school. You know, we have a lot of folks here from our regional BOCES office with us here who've been a great partner to build regional cooperation, empower schools, thinking about all those pieces. You know, it's a really incredible thing. And we want to break the stigma that our rural communities aren't ready. Southern Colorado's ready. It's building the Renaissance, and we need help, partners, and your ideas to take it to the next level. And we look forward to any and all conversations to make that possible.
Thank you so much, Landon. It's great to be with all of you. I think we have our charge, and I look forward to continuing to engage with all of you and to also help tell the story, both across Colorado, but also use it as an exemplar in national reporting. So great to be with all of you. Thank you.